The Amazing Spider-Man issue 50.LR finds Spider-Man battling the possessed Spider family deep underwater in Goblin's escape pod, forced to face all his sins which have been made real. Elsewhere, Norman Osborn tells Dr. Kafka he sold his soul to the devil and it turned him into a monster that destroyed many lives, but he was fine with that at the time since he was free from guilt. Kafka says he can't blame a divine power on his shortcomings. She says that she came back to Ravencroft to give him a chance to do good with her, but now she sees he hasn't changed at all, and whatever he was planning in his secret lab, the cops would sure love to know about. But the only reason she hasn't reported him yet is his insistence that lives are in immediate risk. Norman knows that she is misunderstanding him, since he only blames himself, and he is the only one responsible for it all. Kafka wonders if this is just Norman trying to make amends, since this will be a painful process. Spider-Man Mimo tries to stop joking around with his possessed friends, knowing this is all his own fault when he let his anger get the better of him and he threw Norman to Sin Eater. He remembers the demons coming for them in the pod and how they infected his family, but they are still his family, which is a problem since it means he cannot hurt them while they are trying to hurt him. Peter tries to talk the family down, but Kindred, speaking through Madam Web, tells him that they are all long gone. Peter realizes that that's not Julia talking, knowing it's the being from his nightmares. Web smashes Peter into the windshield of the pod, cracking it as Miles pushes Peter through it, allowing the water from the Hudson to come rushing in. Kafka Mimo asks Norman what he meant when he knew who was responsible for all this, calling the person he talked about Kindred. Kafka isn't familiar with that name, and Osborn was frantic and disorientated when he mentioned this being is apparently his son. Norman confirms Kindred is Harry Osborn, revealing the being was at Ravencroft recently when he visited Norman while he was still jailed there. Norman knows that he could have tried talking him down then, but instead, the man taunted Harry, and he can't stop thinking about how all the abuse and insults he threw at the young man, as well as even worse things he put him through, making Harry a reflection of him and his evil, and making it so Norman can't tell where either one of them begins and ends. Norman knows what the boy is going to do next as Spider-Man awakens underwater, blown out of the pod. Getting his bearings before he drowns, he realizes that no one else is coming out of the pod, meaning he has to save the possessed family before they all drown. Webbing up the pod, he drags it towards the surface as Norman knows Harry will destroy himself to make what he wants happen, and all he wants to do is tell his son that this is all his fault and tell him to stop and come home. But the boy hates him and he knows he deserves that, but he would gladly give his own life if it meant the anger inside Harry would be staved off. But then in the end, he knows his death wouldn't save him since he's just that useless. Norman knows it's too late for Harry as Spider-Man pulls the pod ashore, hoping it's not too late for the family. The hero collapses from exhaustion as the possessed Spider family emerge from the pod, saying Peter looks exhausted thanks to keeping his loved ones alive, since it's all hard work, which is probably why he's always sucked at it. Spider-Girl jumps on Peter, with Kindred speaking through her and telling Peter that he knows the things that gnaw at the man, unleashing a horde of spiders onto the hero. The spiders engulf Peter, biting him as Kindred laughs, telling Peter to take it easy since he's just been dosed with enough venom to kill an elephant. Kindred finds it funny that real spiders don't really care about Spider-Man's so-called totem, they just think he's still just any old food. The villain tells Peter that if he gets through this to come find him, since he's got a nice surprise plan for Peter, but in the meantime, Kindred plans on dealing with his own demons. A teary-eyed Norman Mimo tells Kafka that he never felt so powerless, but Kafka quiets him, saying how she spent a life trying to help the helpless people, and it eventually cost her her life, but she didn't let that stop her. And if Norman is sincere about wanting to make this right, then she has an idea, but it won't be easy. Kafka says that it's not unusual for someone like Harry not to listen to his father, since after severe family trauma, it can often be helpful for a buffer or an intermediary to help out, which the Doctor wishes to be. She says that she can try and help, but given Harry's state, he might respond better to someone he already knows. She asks Norman who could fill this role and who could get through to Harry, as the next morning, Mary Jane arrives back in New York, telling her driver that despite being from the city, she's just visiting, glad to finally be back home. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 50.LR was a really great Last Remains special tie-in in that it set the stage for our characters and what they will be up to as the Kindred story progresses. I really enjoyed spending time with the new Norman Osborn, who really does look like he wants to help his son, but I also like that Dr. Kafka is still suspicious of him, wanting to help him, yet aware this could all just be a ruse on Norman's part, and it's got me thinking that what if Sin Eater Elsewhere only killed the Norman side of Osborn, and the Goblin side is still left, since that technically the real quote-unquote Norman, and the fatherly, good-natured Norman was kind of the lie, and lying is a sin. So it'd be quite interesting if this was all just a big ruse on the Green Goblin's part to kind of get one up on Kindred, since he's jealous that Kindred has got this big master plan and is messing with Spider-Man, whereas he should be the one messing with Spider-Man. It's definitely something interesting to think about, and I'm looking forward to Nick Spencer exploring it more as the last Remain story moves on. Mary Jane also returning to the fold is great, but obviously part of Kindred's plan, since we've seen her being used as sort of a dream vessel sort of thing for Kindred, and I'm looking forward to getting more of an explanation on that and what Kindred's plans for her are. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.